Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ros Clark, this is Ros Clark Crafts. This is my home here on YouTube. You can also find me at Ros Clark Crafts on Instagram or on Ravelry. If you've not already subscribed to my channel, you could do that. Don't forget, if you also want notifications every time I post an episode, click the notification bell. What else? Like or unlike, whichever you like. Any interaction I think helps YouTube to say this is a channel that people are engaging with rather than just kind of clicking through. So if you want to just click that thumbs up or thumbs down, leave a comment, ask a question, whatever you like, it would be great to do that. It's nice to be back. I've been on holiday again. So I think the last time I did a video, I was just back from my painting holiday. I had a week or so at home, and then I've been away for a week in the Lake District and a week immediately after that up in Scotland. And I'm back and I'm sort of just about remembering what it's like to have to go to work. So where are we going to start? We've got quite a lot today. I've got one thing that's finished. I've got some things I've been working on, some knitting, some art, some spinning, which I'm going to talk about quite a bit in this video. I've got quite a lot of purchases from the last few weeks in different ways. I'm just looking around at everything around me to try and remember all the things I wanted to talk to you about. But I want to start with something that's off the wall. My friend Dawn thinks this is the most hilarious thing in the world that I say it's off the wall. I feel like it's quite a fun little segment, so I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to talk about something that's off the wall. Not any of the things that you can see, in fact, on the wall behind me. This is something I'm going to put photos in of it. It's something I made quite a number of years ago now, 7 or 8 years maybe. And I made it. So I have a dear friend who had done a doodle that she posted on Facebook, and it was around the time I was doing quite a lot of colouring in, and I saw this doodle and I thought that would be really fun to colour in. So I messaged her and said, would she mind scanning it in and sending it to me? And she said no, she'd be very happy to do that. So she did, and then I looked at it and I printed it out, and as soon as I printed it out I realised, oh, this isn't a colouring page, this is an embroidery pattern. So I embroidered it, and then I framed it in a hoop and sent it back to her. And so these photos that I'm putting in now are from her Instagram feed, and you'll see she had a real eye for interior design, and this is her sort of interior design Instagram, and you know, and it was lovely to see it on display in her house. And the reason I wanted to talk about it this week is Ruth, who is the friend who designed that, who I made it for, died last week. She had cystic fibrosis from when she was born. She was very unwell for a lot of her life. 2 or 3 years ago, in fact, just coming up for 3 years ago, she had a lung transplant and nearly died following that, but recovered and had a couple of years of much better health. And then just before COVID, got some kind of infection and was in hospital and was being treated. And sort of early summer last year, they sent her home for just palliative care, thinking it would be just a few weeks. And it turns out to be a lot longer than anyone had expected. And she's been very, very unwell for most of that time. Yeah, and I suppose I just wanted to mention her, partly just to say, you know, this is part of what's happening in my life, and actually craft is a part of life, isn't it? It's not just a thing to do to pass time. It's a thing you do to express your love for somebody, or a thing you do to get out some other kind of emotion, or to show somebody that you've been thinking of them or caring for them. People who make cards. Ruth's mother makes a lot of cards. I don't know if she still does. She used to make a lot of cards, and there's something about that. I've made this and I've put something of myself in it for you. And not everything I make is at that sort of level, but making this for Ruth was always special. When she doodled it, I'm pretty sure she was thinking of how beloved she was, not only by the people around her, by her husband and her family and others, but also by God, by the Lord Jesus, who she knew and loved and trusted in her whole life. And it's been a great comfort to me to know how much she knew she was beloved. She knew she was loved by people, and she knew she was loved by the Lord, and to have had a way of expressing how I felt about her as well. You know, I know that she is safe now. She is not struggling for breath in the way that she has been for so long, that she is properly at rest, that her body is working in a way that it never did during her lifetime. And when I go to the funeral next week, there will be as well an outpouring of love for Ruth, but also for the Lord Jesus who cared for her. So yeah, so not on my wall, but a thing I've made that was on somebody's wall who was very precious. And yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about there. Okay, well, let's move on to what I have been working on. So I do have one finished thing. This was the cross stitch project that came in my Caterpillar cross stitch subscription box. I think I have successfully set it so that I'm not getting the autumn one, because I didn't really like the look of it. And I'm not sure, it depends how Christmassy the December one is. Might not be, because it's a bit late in the year for people who are really doing Christmassy things. So we'll see. But I might get that one or I might not. But anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this. I did not follow the pattern as closely as I might have done, not really deliberately, but I decided to just go with it. So some of the colours are not quite where they're supposed to be and whatever. But I really love it. It was really fun to stitch. There's only 4 colours in it, I think. No, more than that, 5 or 6. But in sort of areas, so you're not doing lots of confetti stitching, they call it, where you've got little stitches that you've got to fill in here and there. It's all quite nicely contained. It's not a huge piece. And then I was super pleased. I'd been following 1 or 2 people on Instagram who were working the same piece, and I'd seen one of them finish theirs, and she had done a hoop that was bright yellow, neon yellow, and I was like, that's brilliant, where did you get that? And she's like, well, I just painted it. I'm like, oh yes. So this is a hoop that I've had for ages. It's nasty brown plastic under here. It's hopeless for stitching. It doesn't really hold your fabric taut enough for stitching. It's quite ugly, but now that it is covered in bright orange paint, it looks fabulous. And it sort of normally sits sort of up here in that gap in my wall, and the orange against the yellow of the wall just looks fabulous, and I'm really, really pleased with that. I've not done a neat finish on the back. I'm okay with that. I don't know that this is necessarily going to be a permanent piece, but I like it, and I like having it on the wall at the moment, and I'm quite excited. I've been sort of looking at my wall there, and I think there's at least 2 others, probably this one and this one, which I want to think about replacing sooner rather than later. There was a piece up there which I was replacing, that I thought would go into one of those things, and had previously been up there where this one was, which was based on a polystyrene wreath that had already had 2 makeovers, to be fair, and I was going for a third, and then it just fell apart. I'm like, okay, I can put that in the bin at this point. So that there is room for some more projects up there, which is quite nice. Some, they might be more cross stitch or yarn based projects or something else, but small circular projects, there's a space for a couple of those on the wall. So that was my finish, and that's the only stitching I've done. I've not done any dressmaking because I've been away. I haven't really done any stitching while I've been away. I did take my knitting with me, and I will show you that there has been some progress on that. So this is my knitting. I mean, it still doesn't look like a cardigan, I think it's fair to say, but I have got to the point where I can at least begin to see how the shaping is working. So here, So remember, I'm knitting, this is where I started, and I'm knitting across, and this is going to be a shoulder, and then I've put the front stitches on a holder, and I'm just continuing to work on the back stitches. I've got a couple more inches to go here, and then I will pause and do the same coming from the other side on a second piece. So let me see if I can put it on sort of and give you a sense. This is actually no, that's right, that is the front. So this is sort of what I've done, and I've done, as you can see, a sort of front and a back half, and then there'll be another half there. It's only a cap sleeve cardigan, so there isn't going to be a long sleeve here, but there will be a sleeve hole, and there's a sort of panel at the back that will give it a sort of swingy shape at the back. Okay, let's try not to strangle myself on the yarn. It has been actually a more frustrating knit than I was expecting. I think I talked last time about going wrong and having to undo some rows, and I've not undone loads since then, but there have definitely been quite a few moments where I've realised I've been doing the wrong row, or I've been part of the way through the row and sort of, yeah, so yeah, it's been a knit that's required a lot more attention than I really wanted to give it, which is partly why it's been slow to make more progress. Hopefully the second part will be, once I've done that section, which like I said is only another couple of inches, I won't be quite halfway through, but it will feel like halfway through, I think, and so that will be good. So those are the two things I've been working on that you've seen before, but while I was on holiday, I was working on something else. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this. So we were staying in the far north of Scotland. I mean, you can go quite a lot further, but we were quite far north. We were about an hour from Fort William on the west coast, in the middle of nowhere. And I had not really looked properly at where we were going before I got there. Somebody else booked it and they sent me the address, and I'm like, right, I'll just turn up. I'd Googled to see how long I would need to drive approximately, but that was about it. And anyway, as we got there and as I was driving up, I'm like, I'm sure I've been here before. And I had been there before. So not at the place where we were staying, which is beautiful self-catering house with a lovely hot tub and views, and I mean, it was glorious. It was absolutely lovely. But along the same road where the B&B, not the B&B, the house was, if you went, I don't know, a quarter of a mile further along that road, there was a craft centre with a cafe, and it also has a bunkhouse and all sorts of things. And I'm like, I've been there. And I had been there years and years ago. I've been on a holiday with some friends and their family, where in fact we'd been staying at Fort William at that point, and we'd gone for a drive around this part of the loch, and we'd stopped at this cafe for a cup of tea. And I had noticed that they were offering spinning lessons. So I'd inquired and we talked about it. And anyway, it was just too far really from where we were staying, and it wasn't going to work out. I didn't have a car with me, and it was all not right. But this time, what happened was, in fact, I heard the news about Ruth one evening, the Monday evening when I was there, and it was nice, and there were other people around, and so, you know, we talked and prayed, and it was fine. But then when I got up in the morning, I just thought, no, I think I just need a morning on my own. So I thought, well, I know, I'll go to that nice little cafe down the road that I know that I've been to before. So I did, and I had a bacon sandwich and a piece of cake and a nice cup of tea, and then I went to explore. And there was a lady in the back, and she was felting, and we sort of talked a little bit, and I said, I think you used to offer spinning lessons. Is there anything on this week? I said, no, but we can arrange something for you to come and do a one-to-one session if you like. I was like, actually, I really would like to do that. So my experience with spinning, about 12 years ago, I think, I went to a 1-hour session on drop spindling, and then I bought a spinning wheel, as you do. So that's the only instruction I've had. Is I am more or less self-taught, and while sometimes I felt like I've really got into a flow with spinning, and when you're in a flow with spinning, it is meditative like nothing else, I find. But often also I'm quite frustrated, and I find it difficult to get the sort of yarn that I want at the end of it, and I don't feel in control. And so I said, well, actually what I'd really like is an hour with someone who knows what they're doing, just to sit next to me and watch and say, oh, do this better, or shift, or, you know, sort me out. And she said, well, we can definitely do that. So I went, and actually the lady I'd seen wasn't able to do it, but we set it up with the other lady who runs the place, and she'd got the wheel set up for me and lots of fibre ready prepared from her own sheep. And she said, what we'll do is I'll just spin and make sure the wheel's all set up right, and you can watch me, and then I'll watch you, and then we'll see what needs to be sorted out. So anyway, that's what we did, and she spun some, you know, lovely yarn, and then I sat down, and literally within seconds she said, okay, I can see exactly what you're doing wrong. And so she showed me again and told me, and so then I sat down and tried it. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. So, you know, it's you know, I'm still not the world's most expert spinner, but I definitely feel better than I was before. And she was brilliant. I mean, I paid for an hour's lesson, but I think on that first day I stayed, I don't know, at least 2.5, 3 hours, I think, and spun. Well, I will show you, in fact. So these were this was the sort of fibre we were working with. Let me hold that nice and closely. This is all a bit, I've just been playing with it, so it's not nicely carded, but anyway, you can see, and that's the natural colour of the sheep. And I asked about what breed of sheep it was, and she was like, yeah. So, you know, I want to call it mongrel, but I think technically some kind of crossbreed. Where we were, most of the grazing is common grazing, so trying to ensure that you've got some kind of purebred fleece. I mean, you can, but a lot of them are just whatever. So this is my first sort of singles. So when you first spin, this is what it's called, is singles, and then most yarn is plied together. So you take multiple strands of this and twist them together. And I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can get to a bit where it's a bit more obvious. There's little bumps, and it's quite hairy, and it's not that even. I mean, it's fine, but oh, there we go. You can see it that bit at the end, perhaps, you know, really not that even. So that was the sort of first bit that I spun. And on the first day that I was there, I spun 2 sort of half bobbins-ish and plied them together. And then this is the ball that I made. And you can see again, you know, it's still, generally when you ply, it sort of evens out a bit, and it did. But it's nicely balanced. It's sort of DK-ish, I think, probably is how it would knit up. And, you know, this feels very knittable. It would look hand spun when it's knitted up, but also it is hand spun, so that's fine. But it feels, you know, nicely secure yarn, and it was nice and easy to ply. She was so kind. She said, why don't you come back, you know, whenever you want, really. You don't have to make an appointment or announce yourself. Just go in the room in the back and just do, you know, 20 minutes or half an hour every day if you want, just to sort of make sure you've really got it in your hands. Anyway, we only had a couple more days left, so I did go in the following day, and then this is what I spun that day. So it's there for much less time. And I don't know if you can see, this is also singles. It is much more consistent and also finer than the initial singles I was spinning. It may not be that easy, but I think if I hold the 2 balls up, you can see. So this is the first day and this is the second day, and that there is clearly a difference there. So that was really fabulous. I just felt so encouraged that actually it wasn't just I was doing it all wrong, that actually I can do it. And with her sort of help, and particularly that sort of initial thing, I was just letting the twist go much further into the yarn into the fibre than it should have done. I felt really encouraged to come back and get my spinning wheel out and have a go. Now, my spinning wheel is quite different from the one I was using there. So she had, I think there were Ashford Traditionals. I think that's right. I think there was an Ashford Traveller, but I think the one I used was Ashford Traditional. And an Ashford Traditional wheel set up with Scotch tension. I am not an expert on these things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my wheel, which is set up with Irish tension, and hopefully try and explain what would be different about it with Scotch tension. The main difference in actual use is that with Scotch tension, there's much less pull on the yarn as you are spinning it. What they call take up. The take up on my wheel with the Irish tension is much stronger, and so it makes it much harder to spin fine yarns. It's really great for plying. It's really great for if you want to do chunky yarns or what they call art yarns. If you're a really expert spinner, people can and do spin very fine yarns on my wheel, this model of wheel. But I just found the Scotch tension wheel so much easier just to feel like I was in control of what I wanted. So I came back, did some spinning on my wheel, which I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to move the camera in just a second and show you. And it was definitely better. It's definitely much easier, much more consistent than I've been doing before. But nonetheless, I just came to the conclusion that actually at this point, it's not just me, it is the wheel. So I think I have got organised someone who's interested in buying my wheel and a wheel that I am interested in buying. Spinning wheels, there is quite an active second-hand market for. They don't usually keep their full new price, but they do keep price pretty well. So mine I bought, I think, like I said, I think about 12 years ago for maybe £90, and I'm hoping to sell it for 75. It's fine. But the new wheel that I'm hoping to get, new second-hand wheel I'm hoping to get, will be 450. Comes with a lot of extras, which will be nice as well. But if I was buying it new, it would be 600 for the wheel, plus easily another 150 for the extras. So that will be a good bargain. So let me show you what I've been spinning here. So this is my spinning wheel. You can see that's the maker's mark. It's Louet, and it's a Louet S10. You have to be a little bit careful. This is the original S10. They did come out with a different wheel called the S10C or S10 Concept a few years ago, which is quite different. Actually, it looks similar, but it's quite different in the way it works. So here is mine. This is the treadle, which you use to make it spin. You can make it spin either way. Let's move that out of the way. That'll spin better. So you can control whether you want it to go clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is the drive band. And on this wheel, and this is the Irish tension part, the drive band goes all the way around the wheel. And then it goes in this groove here. And this is the bobbin. This is what you're actually spinning the wool onto. The bobbin is held on this piece of equipment, which is the flyer. It's got a big axle that goes through the middle of the bobbin, and then these hooks which you use to lace the yarn on to tell it where to roll there. You don't want, a great pile of yarn in just one place on your bobbin. You want a whole bobbin full. The yarn comes out of this hole at the front. It's called the orifice, and then this is where you hold it with the fibre while you're spinning, and the spinning puts the twist into the fibre and also pulls it onto the bobbin, all in sort of one thing. Now the great thing about these Irish tension wheels is that they are a very simple mechanism. As you can see, you spin this, that spins this, that puts the twist in the fibre, all done. On a Scotch tension wheel, this drive band does not go into the bobbin, it goes into the flyer. So it is turning the flyer, and you can do this on my wheel, but it's a bit harder to show. The flyer and the bobbin, because they're just, this is an axle, but they're not held together. They don't have to both twist. And so with Scotch tension, you would make your flyer twist, and then you also have a separate band which is called the brake band, that holds, what does it hold? I'm trying to remember. So your drive wheel is attached to your flyer, and your brake band, I think, holds your bobbin to this underneath, which is called the mother of all. Can't quite remember. There are various different parts to this, and actually, because mine is so simple, you kind of don't need to worry about any of those. Anyway, so it is a more complicated setup with Scotch tension, but what it means is the action of putting the twist in the fibre and then pulling the fibre the twisted fibre onto the bobbin are not connected in the same way as they are here. So you can have enough twist without having the tension. And that's what I've been struggling with this wheel. The take up is so strong that in order to get enough twist in the yarn for it to be strong enough, the twist is what makes it stronger. It's quite hard to do that because it wants to just pull onto the bobbin before it's really got strong enough here. Something like that. I am not an expert on spinning wheels, but this is my spinning wheel, and like I say, I've had it for many years and I do like it, and I have spun things on it, and it's been really nice to get it out once again. And in fact, well, let me just pull you close up here so you can see. I just put the clothes peg in to hold the twist on it, and now it's all going to come undone. There we go. So that gives you an idea of how these singles are spinning up, so that, you know, they're not super thick. They usually, what I get when I spin with this wheel is something that when I do a 2-ply, so I'll apply this bobbin with this bobbin that I did earlier down here, and that will knit up at about a double knitting weight. It's a slightly odd thing in the English system of labelling yarn weights. Traditionally it's done by ply, so you'd have a 2-ply, 3-ply, 4-ply, 8-ply, whatever. But obviously that's only useful if the strands that you are plying are a standard weight. You know, and if I ply these two together and called it a 2-ply, that is going to be nothing like a commercial 2-ply. Commercial 2-ply is a lace weight yarn. This is not a lace weight yarn. So yeah, it will be a 2-ply yarn. It will be approximately DK weight, and that'll be fine. And what I'm going to try and do is get on and finish. I've got the rest of this bag full of fibre in here, and I'd like to try and get that completely spun on this bobbin and plied together before I sell this wheel, so that it's all done on the same thing. And then I do have a plan for what I might do with that yarn when it's finished. We shall see. So that is Adventures in Spinning, and like I say, I am hoping to buy a new wheel. I'm going to go and have a look at one next week, so stay tuned. If that comes home with me, you will be seeing that in a future episode, and maybe I'll show you a bit more of the process at that point. In fact, I did take a little video of me doing spinning up in Scotland, so what I'll do is I'll add that to the end of this video. There's no voiceover, there's no sound to it, but if you're just interested in watching me sit and spin for a couple of minutes, I will add that at the end. So that is what I have been working on. One more thing I've been working on, and I think I'll use that to lead into what I have been planning and purchasing. So in the last video, I showed you the painting I had done while I was on holiday in Devon, and I took my painting kit with me, and ta-da! Let's hold that. I don't know if I can hold this and show. Yeah, there we go. You can see the whole thing. So it's just in a sketchbook. This was a mountain in the Lake District that I painted while sitting on a mountain in the Lake District. I don't absolutely know what mountain this is. I had driven up the road and parked in the car park near the top of Latrigg. Possibly this is Skidder. I wouldn't swear to that. But I went up in the evening. There weren't many people there. There were a few people walking, a couple of cyclists, some runners. I mean, yeah. Anyway, and I just took out my chair and sat and painted for a glorious hour or so, what I could see and the colours. And I'm really pleased with how this came out. You know, it is a sketch. You can see there are bits where the paint's just run, and, you know, there are bits where it's, you know, I would definitely do it again differently. But I feel like it definitely gives you the sense of here's a mountain and here are the slopes and the sort of colours that they were. So I think, you know, where I've got these sort of oranges and reds, there was lots of bracken, and then here it was just very dark, and partly that was the cloud, I think. And then these beautiful light fields at the front, and this ring of roseberry willow herb in the bright pink. And yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. I don't know if you can see, I put in some little dots for the sheep that were in the fields. Yeah, I think it really gets a sense of scale and distance and the beautiful colours in the sort of early evening light. So that was in the Lake District. And then I also did this, which was the garden where we were staying in Scotland. Again, roseberry willow herb, I think, in the middle, and some buddleia. And then there were some leaves here that were sort of turning. And I don't know what these yellow flowers were, but they did look like jellyfish. Which, I mean, you know, you got to paint what you see, and what I could see was jellyfish, so that's what I painted. It does look a bit weird. And then this sort of dark red tree on the side. And then you can see here I was doing a little bit of trying to think about making that a little bit more abstract and a little bit more graphic, and sort of a thumbnail sketch of where that might end up. I did this one of the same view, but obviously including the mountain behind as well. So you can see it's got the same sort of flowers. This was the buddleia again, but I didn't quite get the pink of it. And again, the roseberry willow herb and that tree. There was a little bit of a fence that I put in, but decided I didn't really love. And then the sort of middle ground, yeah, it was a disaster. But again, I love this mountain right at the back. You get that real sense of the slopes and the depth of it. So that was I think that was my second go. Might have been my first one, can't remember. Anyway, and this is my final one. And I don't think it's successful, but I think there are some interesting sections in it. So this, again, much more graphic, you can see. And then this was the sort of flowers that were turning, and these were my jellyfish, and this was the roseberry willow herb and the buddleia, and this was the sort of red tree on the side. And the colours aren't right, and the textures aren't right, and I don't love the composition. So there's a lot I don't like about it, but there are some things I did like. I did like the way those roseberry willow herb came out. I quite liked the way that this had done, although I would slightly change the green tone on the outside. Doesn't quite work. Yeah, and that it doesn't quite work in terms of the colour and the composition. But it was a sort of interesting next exercise. And I think if I go back to something like that, or the other one, I think I can sort of see more of how I might get from that to a next step, which wouldn't be that, but would be sort of, yeah, the next step along the way. So I was glad I had my big sketch book with me. I was glad I had a kit of watercolour and sketching things with me. And it seems to work pretty well for sort of outside sketching. It's not, I wouldn't say I have a kit that I could walk for miles with and then set up anywhere. I do really like to have my painting chair. And my painting chair, it's a folding chair, but it's got a really nice table on one side and pockets on the other. So you can have all your brushes and pens here, you can have your water and your palette here, and, you know, yeah. So by the time I've got that, plus a backpack full of stuff, plus, you know, everything else, it's a bit much. It's fine to take it a little way. You know, 5-10 minutes is fine, but I wouldn't want to walk much further with it all. But it, you know, to be able to produce that kind of stuff outside in a beautiful place was really great. Now, I don't think I've told you where I went on holiday in the Lake District. I went to Keswick. The reason I went to Keswick is because they have a big Christian convention there every summer, and lots of people I know go to it, and you can kind of go in and out to as much or as little as you want. And so that was really fun, and I really enjoyed seeing a lot of people that I haven't seen for a while. But the other thing they have in Keswick, you may know, is the Pencil Museum. In fact, they used to have a big pencil factory. It's the Derwent Pencil Factory, while I was there. I was staying 5 minutes walk from the from the lake, Derwent Water, and that's where I was swimming in the mornings. But of course, I didn't go to the pencil museum itself. I have been before, and I'm not sure it's a museum that really demands you go multiple times. But I did go to the shop, because there they sell all their Derwent products. So let me show you what I bought in the shop. Let me tell you what I didn't buy. I didn't buy the block of paper that I couldn't see the price label on, even though it was there right in the front, that I took to the till and said, how much is this? And she said £50. And I'm like, do you know, I'm not going to buy a £50 pad of paper. So I didn't. But I did buy, this is what I went intending to buy. So it is a Derwent pencil tin that is blank. And that is because you can do this online as well, actually. But in the shop it's even more fun. You can get a tin and you can fill it up with your own choice of pencils, your own choice of colours. So I bought, what I wanted to buy was a set of Inktense pencils. I've got Inktense blocks, and I'll talk to you about those in a moment, but I don't have any Inktense pencils. And you can buy sets of 12, but obviously when you buy sets of 12 that are pre-made, what do you get? Well, you always get a brown. You usually get a grey. You often get a black. Sometimes you get a white. That's like 4 that I'm never going to use. So why not have 12 and pick 12 that I will use? So those are my choice of 12 colours, priced individually, plus the tin, plus there's a sort of discount rate for everything that's sold in the shop. So, I mean, that was about £20, I think, that tin, which is not cheap, but they are so brilliant. I love Inktense blocks, and having these as crayons is really helpful. So the other thing I bought in the shop, because I didn't plan to do this, I have a set of 12 Inktense blocks. I mean, I do. I still have that set. I now also have a set of 36 Inktense blocks because they were reduced to £40. And it's £40 because it's missing a white block. So actually I only have 35. It's fine. I've got a white block in my other set. And now this is what I have here. Now there are, you can see in the kit, quite a lot of browns and blacks and so on here. But I mean, look at all of those colours on this side. I don't know, what are there, 4 or 5 different blues, 2 or 3 different purples, pinks, reds, oranges, yellows, half a dozen, 7 or 8 greens. You know, it's just, it's glorious. And so Inktense, if you've not used them before, these are water-soluble blocks that are ink-based. So they are very vibrant in colour. You can use them in a number of ways. You can put them onto the page dry and then put water over them. You can have wet on the page, either water or paint, and then draw through them, and you get, you know, slightly wiggly effects, all kinds of things. But obviously with these blocks, you can't do a lot of very precise detail. Let me just get one out. So that's the end of the block, and that's your end of your pencil. So if you want to use something where you can get more precise detail, the pencils are brilliant for that. And I think actually using them together, well, I've done that, using them together works really, really well. So I was pleased to be able to buy those. I was, well, it's holiday and I was treating myself, and that's a pretty good price for that set, and I will definitely use them. So that was what I bought there. I had also ordered before I went away, but they hadn't arrived in time, something which I had enjoyed using on the painting holiday. So Tessa, who did that, who led that, was very generous with her materials. I mean, I don't think she brought all her most precious materials, but she brought a lot of things that she uses and was very generous in saying, try these out. And one of the things she brought that I'd not tried before was Pastel Pencils. So these are Faber-Castell Pastel Pencils. And they are like chalk pastels, which I've used before, you may have used before, but again, in pencil form. And actually having a white one of those is really useful because they are, I would say they're not fully opaque, but you certainly can use them to draw on top of colour, and you will get a good result with that. So again, with the Inktense, you may be able to draw on colour, but they're more useful for that sort of wet technique. But these are if you've got a painting and it's dry and you just want to add in highlights or texture or whatever, these pastel pencils will be really good for that. I can't remember what I paid for those. They were from Amazon. I'll put a link. So what else did I buy? Oh, I've bought some yarn. I mean, who knew? Let me show you what else I bought before I got to yarn. Again, in Keswick. In Keswick, they have a Hurdy shop. Hurdy is a company. I was going to say, does it say anything there? No. It's a sort of sheep-based company, shall we say. And I've been wanting one of their mugs for a long time. And now I have one. And I'd been kind of, oh, shall I buy one or shall I not buy? Oh, they're quite expensive. But in my B&B where I was staying in Keswick, it was a really good B&B, and I really think they did a brilliant job of everything. And one of the things I really liked that they did, there was tea and coffee making facilities in your room, but instead of nasty little pots of UHT milk, what they did was small, mini vacuum flasks of fresh milk that you could pick up and replace every day as often as you wanted. So it was really great, but the cup that they provided was really small. And I found myself making sort of 2 or 3 cups worth. There was no teapot, and I thought, this is ridiculous. So I treated myself to a proper mug, and I used it there, and it's pink and it's got a little sheep on it. And while I was in the Hurdy shop, I also bought a little set of plastic boxes. I think people do use these for lunch boxes. I generally use them for leftovers, but you know, use them for whatever. And look, it's a little sheep dressed up to go hiking. A little bus full of sheep and a little sheep on a bike. So I was very pleased with those. And actually, I think they were the last set. She went and got them out of the shop window for me and put them in a box. So I was pleased with those. What else did I buy? In the nice craft shop in Scotland, they had a lot of yarn. And when I went, and I was a bit sad, and I had my cup of tea and my bacon sandwich and my slice of cake, and then I bought some yarn. Isn't it pretty? Isn't it pretty? And it's super soft. So this is Colca. This is not Scottish yarn. This is Colca by Amano. It is 56% baby llama and 44% silk, and it is made in Peru. And it is chain plied. I don't know if I can show you that close enough. So these strands, I don't know whether you can see that or not. They are not just twisted together in the way that I was showing you on the spinning wheel. They are chained together, a little bit like you would do with a crochet hook if you were making chain. Not quite like that, but similar to that. And it gives a sort of quite a ropey effect to the yarn, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it knits up. I imagine you'll get really strong stitch definition, even though this is quite drapey yarn. So I haven't quite said, but I think it will be a cowl or something like that. It'll be really soft and snuggly around my neck. And those are 50 gram skeins, so 100 grams altogether I've got in the pink and the green. So that's what I bought. What else have I got? Well, I ordered some yarn before I went away. You remember I made the crochet blanket, which I think I have decided I'm going to give to my niece for Christmas. So then I was like, well, I will need to make one for my nephew. So I'm going to put in a picture. I think this is the blanket I'm going to make with the stars. It's the Captain America blanket. It's just possible that I might make this other blanket. I can't remember the name of this one, but it's just the circles. I think that would be easier. And I'm not sure how much he will care either way. So I haven't decided yet. But what I have done is bought a whole lot of Stylecraft Special DK in colours that he can have. So those are very primary colours altogether. Green is not a primary colour, but you know what I mean. But actually the colours are, there's some black, which, you know, not many people get black from me. Sort of grey, different paler yellow. Can we work out the theme? Can we? Sort of deeper charcoal grey. This is tomato, and it's a bit oranger than I was expecting. I'm not sure if that will go in the blanket. Anyway, these are, what I did was I looked at a page that was discussing superhero colours. And apparently there's a whole sort of colour theory of superheroes. Who knew? And it's these sort of, quite a lot of them are quite primary-ish colours, but also with quite a smattering of blacks and greys and so on. And so yeah, I don't know, because I've just chosen my own colours and ordered them. If I need to order more, I will. I've got some scraps from other blankets that I probably can use as well if I need bits here and there. But I think I'll just start, see how many, whichever blanket I do is going to be modular in squares. So I can just see how many squares I can get and how many more I need. So I do need to start on that. I think it'll just be one of those projects that I just do bits of here and there. And because it's modular, rather than the big blanket where you just go around and the whole thing just gets bigger and bigger, these will be nice because you can do separate amounts, so easy to take with me, or do bits of in places or in meetings or whatever. Yes, I don't think I have quite enough weeks before Christmas to say I'll just do one a week. I think I probably do need to aim for 2 a week between now and the end of November or so, and then have time to sew it up and finish it off. But so there's that, which is my new big project. I also bought, for somebody I love, I was going to say more than, as much as, also some black sock yarn, because I'm going to make some black socks for somebody's birthday. They're not going to be completely black, but there is going to be black on them, and I don't have black sock yarn in my stash, so I have bought that as well. And her birthday is quite soon, so I need to get on with those pretty quickly. I think, I'm just looking around, I think that's everything. I think that's everything I bought and everything I've been working on and everything I've finished. The things that I am planning to work on, I have made a little list. Obviously I want to finish spinning the yarn that's on the bobbin. I do need to make those socks and start on the blanket. The cardigan, I mean, it's not going to be finished for this summer at this point. That's where we're at with the cardigan. So I don't want to stop working on it because I think I might lose the momentum completely and it might be awful to get started again. I'd like to at least get to the point where I've started on the second half, and then I feel it will be easier to keep going with that. But it's okay if that's not. I mean, that was sort of the project I took away with me when I was on holiday. So it's had quite a lot of attention in the last few weeks, and it's okay if that takes a lower place at this point. I've got a couple of dressmaking things that I'd quite like to get on with. An autumn dress that I cut out about this time last year and didn't sew up, so it'd be nice to sew it up and actually wear it this autumn. Yeah, we'll see. I think I'm at that sort of strange stage where I've been away a lot in the last month or so, and although I'm back and sort of getting back into work, term hasn't started up again. I'm still sort of working my way into what my routine of life is going to look like at this stage of the pandemic, this stage of work. I've got some new projects that I'm starting, some possible new things that are going to take up more attention, but also, yeah, some kind of working out of what I'm going to do with other things. And so I don't quite have a sense of what my routine will be in terms of time to spend crafting and arting and so on. So we'll see, but I'm sure there will be some. I'm anticipating aiming to go back to a sort of regular fortnightly video. Oh, and the other thing, which I haven't got to show you because it's a surprise, while I was in Keswick, I did do some charity shopping with transformation challenges in mind. So I think I have got things for at least 2 challenges, and I did take on board what people were saying about transformation challenges with respect to wastefulness, and yeah, and I want to say I have taken that quite seriously, and I'm going to talk about it probably, because probably what I will do, I have to sort of work out how it will go for filming it, but probably there will be quite a lot of me doing things where I don't really need to talk about what I'm doing. So I'm anticipating that I will spend some time then explaining what I was thinking as I was doing the shopping for the garments that I'm going to transform and why I'm transforming them. And yeah, I just have some general thoughts about home sewing and fabric waste and so on. So I'm hoping that will happen soon, now that I've got some things to do and I've percolating some ideas of what to do with them, and I have some things I want to talk about. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm not going to give you a date, but it might be next weekend. I might have time to do one of those or two of those. So that would be great. Good. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope this might have been a bit shorter than normal, but I'm not really sure. I keep thinking maybe I should do more regular, shorter videos. And do let me know in the comments if you think you'd like that better. I'm not sure it's actually going to happen, but it may do. And if everyone says no, that would be loads better, I might at least try to make that happen. Great. So I will be back hopefully in a couple of weeks with another normal Craftube video, at some point with a transformation challenge. Do let me know in the comments. I hope you've all managed to get a bit of a rest this summer. Maybe you've been away as well. Let me know if your holidays were anything like as good as mine. And I will see you next time. Do stay tuned if you want to watch the little video of me spinning.